Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Inside the GM Studio podcast, all about that tabletop RPG hobby. I am your host, Matt,
And I am David.
the destroyer, the taker of parties. David has done it again. Another fucking dragon has come in, and the party has had another TPK. But even though I was very excited about my last character, I really liked him. I'm really excited about trying out something completely different that I've never really done in Dungeons and Dragons. I have created a new character for the group that is going to be pretty much strictly support. Like I have one offensive cantrip, and that's it. Everything else will be, even though it's so. I'm planning on playing at the moment right now an Asimar Divine Soul Sorcerer. Don't get really any healing spells until level 3, of course, except as an Asimar, I do get kind of like a Cure Touch that I can use once per long rest. Uh, and as a sorcerer, I can change my spells to whatever is on the sorcerer spell list after every long rest as well. But man, as soon as I can start getting those, like some good healing spells, as well as all the other nice support spells that I can get as a sorcerer, even though sorcerers are a little bit more just damage dealy, there are some good support ones. And then I'll be able to twin them, extend them. I can, at some point, I can change cure wounds from touch to actually distance casting. It's going to be fucking nice. And I don't want to really focus on any sort of damaging. I want to be strictly support, make everybody else do a bunch of damage, and then heal them and make sure that they're stayed topped off. But
Yeah.
let's speak to the dickhead himself and see what he thought. The roles I did yesterday. So I'll tell it off top. David wasn't feeling well throughout the week, so he didn't have a lot of time to work on the game. It's like, let's just do this dragon encounter, and when it gets over with next week, I'll have some stuff. Like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll just deal with that real quick. We started, rolled initiative. I rolled a saving throw, and then I rolled death saving throws for the rest of the rest of the game.
Yeah. Here's the thing is, in retrospect, yeah, that maybe was too challenging of an encounter. An adult white dragon. White dragons are the weakest dragons. And an adult white dragon is a challenge 13, I think. And the party is level 7. And so anybody listening that says like, "Whoa, level 7," like go ahead and tell me I'm way off base by throwing an adult dragon at the party. But here's the thing: is things that are supposed to be deadly challenges, including, I believe, a young red dragon, several demons that were like challenge 9, 10. The party just made fucking mincemeat of them, like just annihilated. Like a Vrock is a challenge 9. That's supposed to be and this was when the party was level 5. So I threw a challenge 9 monster at the party when they were level 5, and they just fucking annihilated it. Like, same thing with the young red dragon. A young red dragon, I think, is a challenge 9 or maybe 10. And the party just, like, in particular with Cody, I just felt like he seemed like he felt disappointed. He was like, "That was a fucking easy encounter for a red dragon," and I was like, "All right, and admittedly, it was at the end of a dungeon crawl, but the party had almost all of its resources available to them. Pretty full on spell slots, hit dice, whatever else. And so everybody was almost full hit points when they came into the fight. But the thing is it's that breath weapon, man. Breath weapon scales. It scales incrementally, so it's like you have a 60-foot cone, which can get basically the whole party, and it's dealing like 60 damage, and everybody failed their saving throw. And so it was just like, and you were just immediately underwater then, right? You're just like
Yeah.
immediately underwater, and there's
And
not a whole lot
I
can be
didn't
done.
know that a fucking white dragon's breath weapon was a constitution save. I thought all breath weapons were dex saves.
So
It
did
is
I.
not. Me being a rogue, I was like, yeah, fucking dragon. I don't give a shit. I got two motherfuckers, two things that I can do to just half damage.
Hmm.
Or yeah, if I did succeed and it was a dex save, I would take no damage from it whatsoever. No, it's a constitution saving throw.
Here, I suspect too, actually, that the green dragon's breath weapon is probably a
Yeah.
con save too because it's poison.
Hmm.
Uh, and I, in my head, didn't realize that either. I was thinking the barbarian in the party that used to be run by my buddy Mike is. I was like, well, he can rage, and so that halves damage right there. And I'm like, then he also gets advantage on dex saves for things that he can see. So that's like, halves the damage on a save
Hmm.
or breath weapon. And I'm like, and at least one of the party members will probably be out of the blast radius. And I'm like, so Matt and the NPC will probably fare pretty well until like on the initial breath weapon until it recharges. And it always usually takes you get pretty lucky if it recharges the next round. Usually it's like 2 or 3 rounds later it'll recharge. And I'm like, okay, so they'll fare pretty well. Someone might, Beto's character might take the brunt of it, but he's got a decent amount of hit points, so maybe he'll be hurt, but he'll heal himself. And then Cody will come in and like do some damage, and they'll start damaging it, and then maybe it'll recharge, and then Beto will heal him up. This is how I thought the fight was going to go.
Yeah.
And it didn't go that way at all. It was disastrous. But I really told myself, like, look, I am not going to pull any punches in this fight. I am just going to go after the fucking party because I'm tired of having my difficult, challenging encounters just getting run through like the shit's on fucking, play school mode or some shit. And so I just kind of was like, I'm just going to go after them, right? They have all the resources available. They'll appreciate the challenge, and it just didn't play out the way that ended up where anyone survived.
So
So
before we started, you went off to go get your whiskey for the game,
mhm.
and we all kind of started talking tactics. Like, okay, this is what we should do in order to survive this. And Patrick was the one. He was the one right off the fucking bat that was like, everybody spread out. Dave loves to use the breath weapon like right away.
Oh,
Every time we
absolutely.
come up against a dragon, the first thing it's always the breath weapon, which is what you do with a dragon. That's the first thing that
Yeah,
they do. You fucking hit
yeah.
them with a breath weapon.
You
And
got it. You use it. Yeah.
and both Cody and I were like, you're fucking right. Everybody spread out. And if you saw my first move, I went down and around
Yep.
to give myself a good way around. You did the same thing with Mike's, the NPC. Krapos went around, down,
Mhm.
around. And then Patrick, I was expecting him to go behind the pillar or at least move somewhere, but he didn't. Cody didn't move either, and then neither did Beto. And I was like, remember the plan. Remember the plan.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too is you kind of lucked out because the dragon rolled poorly on initiative. He rolled like a
Hmm.
6 or something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, they'll be able to kind of get out there and spread out, and like I'll probably have to do some maneuvering to get like even 3 of them in the breath weapon. Um, but for some reason, yeah, it just you were Patrick took some cover, and that was kind of like okay, like he's kind of safe from the breath weapon, which is fair because he
Hmm.
has, I think, fewer than 30 hit points. As a wizard, you just don't have a lot of hit points, which is why he has so many defensive spells in his repertoire. Uh, but I was like, okay, yeah, like Krampus' character, the Dragonborn barbarian guy, I'm like, he's gonna rage, and he's got like 80 hit points or something like that. I'm like, he's got 80 hit points and gets I was like, he'll get advantage on the dex save, but then I realized it was con either. Something I didn't know either is apparently I thought frightful presence was just like a reflexive thing.
Hmm.
Like it was reflexive, like it was a feature of the dragon. Like if you
It was
see
just
it,
like an aura that was there.
it's an action. It
No
takes
shit.
action. Yeah, I double checked too because I thought maybe the stat block in Roll20 was just inaccurate, and so I checked the actual listing for the monster in the SRD and the Monstrous Manual or Monster Compendium they call it now. Yeah, it's an action. And so like I didn't even end up using it because I think I even forgot to roll a couple times for his breath weapon and didn't use all of his legendary actions, but it's because I didn't really have much opportunity to use them. But yeah, yep, that was quick and dirty. So like
Yes, it was. I think it took a total of, I mean, of actual playtime, an hour maybe, because I think we
yeah.
were actually in the call for about an hour and a half, and that was like us getting up, getting drinks, and still kind of chit chatting about. And I think the actual playtime was only like an hour before,
Hmm.
even though some of the guys try to pull it off that their characters might live on. Nope. It finally, David just had to say, "Nope, I'm calling it DOA. It's time to move on."
Yeah, well, technically, Patrick's character did live.
Hmm.
He this is the first time, and I'd be curious if any listeners have ever had this happen. So Patrick's character was a wizard, and so they're on the roof at the like mountain spire peak or whatever, right? And so what he did is after all the party members had like been annihilated, he's like, "Fuck this! I'm just gonna jump off the roof because I have Featherfall." And so he jumped off the roof and Featherfall is not concentration or anything, so it just lasts for a minute. And so the dragon saw him jump off in Featherfall and like flew out there and like fucking like clawed him unconscious to he was dying. And then the other some of the other characters like got conscious and he flew up to deal with them. And while he was feather falling, rolling death saves, he regained a hit point and
Yeah.
regained consciousness while he was feather falling. And that's
Fucking
like how
awesome.
that's like, I've never had that happen where it was like someone feather fell, got hit and died, continued to feather fall, and then like got resurrected as they were still feather falling. So technically his character lived.
Hmm.
But given that the only other NPC that was alive, or the only other character that was alive was an NPC, I just opted to be like, look, it doesn't make much sense for us to reboot the campaign. I don't know what it is about levels 7, 8. That's about the top shelf for. I need to reassess the challenges that I throw at that levels because apparently just a little, I overcorrect just a little bit and it tends to fuck the party up because we Curse of Strahd, level 8, right?
Yep.
What was the campaign we ran before that? Maybe you weren't even there, but the campaign before that I want to say was level 6 or 7. So it's always somewhere like level 5 to 8. Like that's where I kill
Hmm.
parties. I don't we can't get past level 8. I don't know why.
Well, we're going to be
So
doing a lot better as soon as, I'm going to turn into the best healer in the world.
yeah.
We're going to see. I'm going to make it so that we all live, hopefully.
It's that is I took that as like, look, we need somebody in the healer role that knows how to like maximize the benefits
Hmm.
of this role because, and I was talking with Cody and Beto after you logged off, and I was like, well, hey, like, what are you guys thinking? And Beto was like, oh, I'm gonna choose a really complicated class with a bunch of like things that I don't know how to manage, and I'm like, yeah, that's wise, and I'm like, look, man, here's the thing: is I don't think it's about management, but you need to choose a role in the party that suits your sensibilities because it's like you being the healer is kind of like for a cleric anyway, is a mid-rank um is a mid-rank character, right? Sometimes you're going to move up, you're going to flex up to the front to provide some defender support. Sometimes you're going to fade to the back to provide healing for the wizard. But mostly you want to be kind of in the middle rank using moderate range spells and try to be close to everybody. But what that means is as a healer, you have to manage when am I in the front rank? When am I healing? When am I using attack spells? When am I
Hmm.
using support spells? I'm like, I think that's just too much for you to kind of manage as a player.
Yeah.
Because one, your sensibilities are not you're not a particularly decisive player. You're the player that kind of like defers and kind of waits. You're a lot like Patrick in that regard. You're what DMs call a watcher. You wait to see what the other players are going to do. But someone that's a healer needs to be like decisive about what it is that's happening because they're like they don't have a lot of flex. Like the striker roams around and like just fucks shit up, you know, and the
Hmm.
defender just protects. And so the support role has the most flexibility. I don't think that's well suited to your sensibilities. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm just going to choose something that doesn't have spell slots and stuff. And I was like, yeah, maybe, you know, maybe that's a good idea. So I don't really know what he's gravitating toward. It seems like Cody is gravitating toward this newfangled rune fighter, rune
Oh, the Rune
something,
Knight.
the rune knight fighter,
Hmm.
which is kind of a combo of like defender and striker. So he's like, yeah, I want a little more versatility, which his character was pretty versatile, but yeah, he was like, well, I don't think we're gonna have an NPC, and I was like, yeah, it depends on whether me and Matt trade off. I really am not sold on necessarily wanting to go that route yet, but yeah, he was like, yeah, so I want a little more versatility. But if you're just going to be a pure healer, then yeah, it's because here's the thing: is if you don't have people that are crisp and pure roles, and everybody builds a versatile character, then what that does is it creates confusion too, because it's like who should be doing the damage, who should be healing, who should be defending, who should be doing control. And it's like if everybody has a character that can kind of do one or more than one thing, then they get kind of confused as to when they should be doing which thing and
Hmm.
like to what level. And that's how parties die, as we see. So
Yep.
if you have more crisply defined roles, then it makes it easier for everybody to know, like, I'm just focusing on this, and that's
Oh
what
yeah,
I'm
dude.
doing. And
That's why I said I was just gonna go straight like super support. I'm gonna be doing buffs, heals, maybe even some shields. It'll be great.
mm,
And I'm gonna be awesome at it. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
yeah, I think you can run that pretty well.
Oh, I gotta bring up that not only did Patrick have that awesome role, but there's another role that he made that just made my fucking day. I had to laugh out loud because, like David was saying earlier, Patrick has a lot of defensive spells: shield, mage armor, and of course mirror image. So he pops
Hmm.
mirror image right at the beginning of the fight, and right as he's like the first time he goes down, the dragon goes to claw him. He's already survived the breath weapon and shit. It was just like, holy crap, the wizard has survived the breath weapon. But of course, dragon comes up with the claws, going to claws him, and he's just like, I got my mirror image out. I got to roll to see if you hit the mirror image. All I got to do is roll a 6 or higher. Roll 5. Oh my god, I lost it. It was so
Yeah,
good. And of course,
a
that
six or higher on a D20,
on a
people.
D20,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
And you roll it 5. Fucking,
yep,
and then of course you're gonna get hit by a dragon's claw as a wizard. You're done. So after
yeah,
tanking the breath weapon, come on.
yeah.
Oh, that was such a good roll though. I loved it. I almost fell out of my chair when that happened.
Yeah, it was a confluence of not so great things. But yeah, I was trying to make it challenging because I was like, look, I'm not gonna throw another dragon at them and have it be like a big wet fart. Like,
Mhm.
want to do that, and I don't use dragons a lot. Like,
You know,
this is the first adult dragon in 30 years of Dungeons and Dragons that I've ever ran. Like, just young dragons is all I've ever gotten to, and maybe because I keep killing the parties before they get to levels where they can fight adult dragons. But yeah, so we're gonna start fresh and we're gonna see what's what. Part of me wants to run the Shattered Obelisk because you said good things about it,
it's
but
fucking
I'm
cool.
also right. But I'm super averse to paying for fucking anything that I could
Mhm.
do myself. So it's like I'm kind of torn between my hatred of paying for shit and my hatred of manually doing the dynamic lighting for maps that I create.
If
Like,
you still want to, if you want to move from Roll 20 to Foundry, I could probably get it for you.
get what?
Shattered Obelisk.
Mm,
I will see if
like,
I can get it for Roll 20 as well. Wink wink nudge nudge. Let's see if I can get it.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I like homebrew campaigns. It's just I really don't like having to do dynamic lighting. Like, it's
Mhm.
so fucking tedious.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one other thing that I like about Foundry. For all of you guys out there, Foundry is, it's a $50, to charge your for one time, but there's so many map packs that you can get for free that come
mm,
with the dynamic lighting already put in and all that shit.
oh
That
no shit.
yeah, there's so much out there. They're all over the
Yeah,
place.
because Roll20 had a bunch of them for a minute, and I downloaded them when they were free. But now they're like, no, you pay for everything
Yeah.
now, like everything, and it's like we've run through basically most of the adventures. I've repurposed all sorts of like maps from previous adventures, but I'm running dry of the stuff. And so like I don't mind making my own maps, but it's like making them, importing them, sizing them,
Hmm.
putting all the dynamic lighting in them. It's like I mean, to be fair, like I tend to create kind of smaller dungeon crawls anyway, so it wouldn't be that tedious. So I just kind of have to decide whether the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak. I don't know much about the Shattered Obelisk. I'd hate to pay for it to find that some of the things maybe don't kind of suit like what I would want the campaign to be.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I
I
don't know.
have the PDF. I'll send that to you after we're done recording. You can
Oh,
read over
okay.
it, see if you like it.
Yeah, because if there's because Lost Mine of Phandelver is a great adventure,
Mm.
and precisely because it doesn't go, it has enough plot and not super lengthy dungeon crawls. But I don't know how the continuation is, or if they changed any of the things in
It's
the
fucking
initial.
cool. It's cool. I
Hey,
like it.
hey, question: did they add in the initial Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure? There are no area maps for Old Owl Well and Wyvern Tor, or Agatha's Lair. Did they add that?
I don't remember.
I'd be
That's a good
curious.
question. Yeah, I
Anyway,
don't remember.
I'll take a look.
All right, let's get into one thing that none of us really got to deal with at the game yesterday, and that is the initiative system. The initiative system, I have found out reading throughout all these games that I have collected and read over, it seems that the initiative system has changed more than anything else throughout the years when it comes to mechanics. The initiative system was also like the one that was the same at one point. Every single tabletop role playing game out there, when they said initiative, it was damn near the exact same thing with every single game. It all standard started with the standard roll initiative, where you would roll a die, you would add a modifier, and that was it. You made the list, biggest number to the littlest number, and you would go through that list over and over and over again.
That
Uh, these are things like Dungeons and Dragons. I know that, of course, Pathfinder has done it. GURPS did it at one point. Hackmaster has done it. They still do a system that's kind of like it, but there is now they've kind of moved on to more of like an action point speed system. But that was like the initial start of it all, and of course, D&D still lives up to that. They tried to change it a little bit in fourth edition with ready actions. You could start using ready actions after you rolled initiative. You could say, I want to ready an action, and you could move your initiative score up or down, really, unless you had a certain feat or a daily, whatever the hell power. What was it? Damn it. Now I can't. Oh, yeah. Encounter power, daily power,
utility power
utility power, and then at will power. You
at
had
will
something
power.
that made you move around.
Hmm.
You could say I want to ready in action, and sometimes it would let you move it up or whatever. Fourth edition was weird like that. Very, very, very tactical. But how do you feel about the initiative systems these days, David? You've now worked with a couple different ones.
Yeah.
Which one would you do you think you kind of lean towards nowadays?
Yeah, that's a good question because I came up in for the uninitiated actually. I would say the modern initiative system for games like Pathfinder and D&D was really born in third edition.
Hmm.
Second edition initiative was well, not very different, but it was slightly different. It was a D10, and usually you had a weapon speed modifier that
Hmm.
deducted from your fast weapons had a negative modifier, and the whole idea was that like that it was your position, right? So the closer you got to one on your roll, then that was like you went one. You were the
Hmm.
number one person that went. So if you rolled a six and you had a weapon speed of -3, then you go third, right? That's your position. Thank heavens they did away with that and they kind of just went with a more D20 system. my biggest gripe with D&D is that not enough things can contribute to your initiative. It's
Yeah.
just your dex. Although I think it gets lost on a lot of people that like initiative is a dex check, so things like guidance apply to it. You
Hmm.
could use guidance to like bolster your initiative. So that's one way to do it. I think there's one or two feats that bolster your initiative. There's a couple of class features that bolster your initiative. But generally, like what sort of weapon you're using, what sort of action you're taking, your race, your class, these things don't really influence your initiative. And so as a result, it's made to be just kind of quick and dirty and is pretty structured and rote. And that's really the benefit of it is that it is predictable, it's
Hmm.
understandable, it's gets it out of the way quick. I have a tendency to favor initiative systems that provide a little more gradient, a little more nuance, and also provide a little more flexibility for the players to decide who goes in what order. So there's a few systems out there that basically have you just everybody acts once and you just kind of bat the ball back and forth like GM does something, someone in the group does something, and then GM does something, and then someone in the group does something. I like that flexibility. It allows the players to strategize a little bit better and tends to not, I guess it fosters the sort of dynamic that I think is more of a team dynamic. And
Yes.
and it allows for strategy to be a little bit different as opposed to siloed off. But that said, I believe Daggerheart uses that initiative system. I believe uh, a couple of other games. Savage Worlds. No, Savage Worlds uses the card initiative
Mm-hmm.
system. So I like that, but I've also observed that players often don't use it to strategize. They often just go like, I don't know, like you go ahead, like
Yeah.
whatever. It's like they don't really think through it, and so it doesn't really get maximized. But as a
Hmm.
system, just on the face of it, I like that the best. I'm not a huge fan of the randomization of like a card draw, like for Savage Worlds, because it's like I feel like some characters ought to kind of get the jump on things. They should have a little bit of an advantage if they're quicker, if they're more fleet of foot, if they're using a weapon that's quick. I actually like the VTM initiative system. I don't really like the VTM combat system, but the VTM basically it's like your wits plus alertness score
Hmm.
together. That pool adds to like a D10 roll, I
Yep.
think.
Yep.
And then that's your so it's like you have certain metrics that allow you to kind of act earlier in the encounter because it works best for systems where acting early is a big advantage. And in D&D it's not necessarily. It can be, but it's not like in say Barbarians of Lemuria. Acting first is because combat is so fast and furious.
Hmm.
You like if you don't act one of the first couple of positions, like you could just be dead by the time your turn gets around. So the whole idea is to kind of like get into the fray as quickly
Yep.
as possible. So systems that like foster variations among characters that allow characters that are a little wittier, a little more fleet of foot, using fast weapons, have racial bonuses, class bonuses, provide that gradient, and allow collaborative cooperation on the part of the PCs where they're not all just kind of like hemmed into a particular lane. I like initiative systems that do that. And I feel like you're probably in the same camp, but I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts.
So yeah, I'm gonna go down a little list here. I wrote down pretty much every initiative system that I could think of. I might miss some, and if any of you out there, if I do miss any, write in, let me know because I want to check them out. I'm a fan of mechanics. I want to learn new stuff. But of course, there's a standard role that we already talked about, like D&D. There's static initiative, which like early editions of Shadowrun and Call of Cthulhu do. It's just like Call of Cthulhu. You have an initiative or it's your I believe it is just your no, there is an initiative score or a dex score, whichever it's your dex score, I believe, now in seventh edition. And you just it's just static. You don't roll anything. You just take that number, and that is your initiative score. That one super predictable, but it's very monotonous. It's very boring.
Mhm.
And like David was saying, there's nothing that you can really do to change that if you want to be a really, if you want to be the foot guy, the quick guy, other than having just a high dex, and that's not always easily done with systems like that. The group slash side initiative. So these are where you find, like David was talking about, in and I found these in like Warhammer Fantasy, Star Wars, Barbarians of Lemura, pretty much, where the whole group rolls and you find out which side goes first, and then you just kind of switch them off.
Actually, if you remember, one of the things I do like to just kind of interject here, for those that don't know the Barbarians of Lemuria game, because why would you, like 12 of us in the whole country play it? But how it works is actually bad guys don't roll initiative at all. Or actually, they call it priority in that
Yeah.
game. But how it works is you roll, and there's basically just a hierarchy. So it's actually more like that. It's like the hierarchy goes, any heroes that have a mighty success, or no, any heroes that have a legendary success, then any heroes that have a mighty success, then any heroes that have a success, then any villains, then any heroes that have a failure, then any I forget what they call them, captains or lieutenants, or what are they called? They're like second tier monsters. Then any toughs or rabble or whatever. Or that's what it is, toughs. Any
Okay, so there
toughs.
was a lot more of
And,
a structure to it than I thought.
and then there's rabble, right? And
Mm.
then at the very bottom would be any characters that got a calamitous failure. And so you do roll, but you're just trying to get to a certain threshold. So like for instance, if Matt's character got a success, which is a 9 or better in Barbarians of Lemuria, like if Matt's character got a 9 and my character got a 12, we're just in the same character of like got a success. Neither of us got a legendary or mighty success, but we just got a success. Either of us can go at like the interval. So there's some of that flexibility that I mentioned, but there is still some gradient. So I do like that about that system, and I also like that it obviates the need for the GM to roll for any NPCs. It's like they just go on a hierarchy based on how the PCs roll. That's a little better for me.
The next one is probably my least favorite, just because of the complexity, and that's a count up or count down initiative. This one comes from Rollmaster, as well as I've seen it in one other one. I think it might have been like Fatal or something like that. One of the other games that have no want to play or ever learn to play. But this one is so your turns and like I guess it's just turns because there's not really anything else in there, but everything works on timers, and you're allowed to do a certain action on a piece of that time, and then you could do another action on a different part of that same timer, but a different time point, and it becomes very, very like complex and hard to track. And unless you are a person that really likes that sort of thing, it's not a very good initiative system. I think it makes it feel very real because how the fight can go and how you're kind of going back and forth between you and your enemy, but it is a lot to deal with, a lot of bookkeeping. Yes, card-based initiative, Savage Worlds. I think they're the only one right now that's actually doing it. I think some other games might have thrown it in there, but you draw cards to determine your order. And if you flip over a joker at a certain person, they get a +2 to all rolls during that turn. Or no, if you pull the joker, everybody gets a +2 for that round. And that player gets to choose when they want to go, no matter what.
Yeah.
With this,
And they also get don't they also get a Benny?
and a Benny. Everybody gets a
Yeah.
Benny. Everybody gets +2 for that
Everybody gets
entire round,
everybody gets a Benny.
and
That's
then that
right.
player gets to choose when they go, no matter what. I do love the card draw initiative system. It's kind of up there. It's fighting for first place. As long as you have the edges that give you, like David was talking about, for that person that wants to be the quick character, give them edges and powers that let you so you can draw two cards, or even three sometimes, and you get to keep the highest one, or you get to just choose the which one you want. I've had that; it works out pretty well, but it is super random. Uh, it's very very random, and sometimes it can be not exactly great for the players. Sometimes they get really fucked over by it, but it's very engaging. I really like it. Like I said, it's kind of fighting for my number one spot. Um, ooh, the auction and bidding system. This is a little bit more. This was a homebrew long time ago that I saw, and I didn't think this was a good idea. And then I've seen some games that are starting to throw it in there, like some of the new Hackmaster rules. I see that they have tried to do this. So again, it's another one that's a little too complex, I think, and it really slows down the game because you bid different resources for your turn order. So they say round one, what's your bid? And people will start bidding some form of resource that they have. There's a couple games right now, like Vagabond that I've been reading over, Nimble, and DC 20 that is kind of taking this, but it's more action points that they can use at some point, where they have a pool of 3 or 4 action points, and they can use them as they go along. This the old fashioned way of bid resources for your turn order, I think, just takes the entire fun out of it right away, because first you got to sit there and you got to have an auction about who's going to go first and where is this going to go, blah blah blah. Not my cup of tea. It's very strategic. Like, you can get down to the nitty gritty. You want to get strategic, do the auction bidding. This one, yes, speed / action points, different action points. This one is used in 4th edition GURPS, as well as the newer editions like 4th edition, 5th edition, and 6th edition of Shadowrun. No, wait, not, yes, no, not 6th edition. Sorry, they went to a standard initiative. But 4th edition and 5th edition, this I love. I love this system. So, with speed initiatives, GURPS does it a lot more like the old classic D&D, like David was talking about, where you have a weapon speed as well as your own speed, and the type of attack you're doing will give you a speed. But your speed also says how many times you can act in that round. This is the same thing with Shadowrun, because they wanted you to feel in Shadowrun, there is the meat space, there is cyberspace, and then there is the spiritual space. In each one of those, of course, things move a lot differently. If you are a decker that is, hot simmed, deep dive into VR, where you are just your body went limp and your brain is now in the internet. Of course, you are moving at the speed of thought. You are moving a lot faster than everybody else. If you are a shaman or a mage that has gone spiritual, left your body and gone into the spirit realms, you begin to move a lot faster as well. So what they do is you have 3 different initiatives. You have your regular meat space initiative, you have your spiritual space initiative, and then you have VR, which is hot sim or cold sim. If you're looking through VR goggles and still acting in the real world, you are cold sim. If you are dove in, you are nothing more than a meat puppet. You are hot sim. And with this, you get these high scores. So say you are a decker, I roll my initiative and I get a 36. You go down the initiative order, and then you go -10 to all of those scores. Whatever's left, those people get to go again, -10 again. If there's anything left, those people get to go again. I kind of dig it. If you want to be fast and you want to act a lot, this is a cool way to do it. I think it can still work with maybe a medieval fantasy style. I think GURPS does a pretty good job with it, but of course GURPS has a lot of numbers going in and out. Again, they are known to be crunchy, and of course Shadowrun as well, known to be quite crunchy, but this is a cool idea.
It reminds me almost of like when you used to play Final Fantasy or any turn-based, uh, typically JRPG, but let's just say turn-based video game RPG,
Hmm.
where it's like it doesn't work on a cycle. It's not like you have character one, two, three, four in your party plus bad guy. And it's like character one goes, character two goes, character three goes, character four goes, bad guy goes, then character one goes. It's like, no, it might be character one, character two, character three, character one again,
Hmm.
character four, character two again, then bad guy, then character one again. It's like it's almost like they're on like a separate timer. Like they're just their meter
Yeah.
is building up. And so with that system, if you're up for it, can allow you. You're not thinking about things in terms of rounds so much as things of like almost like a cooldown period. Like
Yep.
I've
Yeah.
acted and I get a cooldown period, and depending on how what weapon I'm using, what action I'm doing, what type of class I am, what type of race I am, my cooldown period before I can act again might be a shorter shelf life. I like that too. I just have never seen a system that really does it in a way that doesn't distract from the pacing of a
Yeah.
battle.
That's what you just got to make sure that whoever is running the game is able to tell these initiatives right away and then take that 10 off.
Hmm.
Because I've seen in higher end games of Shadowrun where you're starting to roll pools of 15 to 18 dice. There are some street samurai out there that are so chromed up, and then they'll take drugs that next thing you know that their initiative score that they roll, they have an average of like 56. So they're going to be acting at least 5 or 6 times in that round. And yeah, it can get pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Um, the last one here is I threw it in there just because a lot of indie RPGs, narrative style RPGs, this is just their thing now. Simultaneous slash freeform. This is just a big one in a lot of indie games now. I'm not a fan of it because of the chaos. I love a good co-op. Everybody we kind of work together about what initiative is. I gotta say, I'm a little old school. I like a little rigidity to my initiative systems. I like just be able to know when I'm going to go, or at least when our group is going to go. When it comes to like a free form simultaneous thing where you're just like, okay, you guys want to go first, or do you want the monster to go first? Oh, the monster can go first, and then we'll talk about it. What happens afterwards? Yeah, I don't think so. It's fast, sure. It's very quick. It's very
No,
narrative driven, but that's the point. And I think David was going to get to say what I'm just about to, but there's always going to be that guy. The people that play indie RPGs, unless you're really, really good friends,
yeah.
they're not exactly, extroverts.
Yeah,
They don't
they're
want to speak up.
they're deferential.
Yeah.
So it's like on the face of it, it seems more cooperative, but what it does is like the sort of person that's going to play in a game like that is not going to be it's going to be like, well, whatever you guys want. Like everyone's going to be like so polite to like, well, like I don't know, like let's
Right.
discuss it. And actually it's going to crush the pacing of the combat encounter. and
Yep.
and that's like in the interest of being collaborative, it's just gonna when you give people like infinite options for shit, they're paralyzed with indecision. But if you tell them this is where you go, like then they just kind of go there. And I would posit that initiative, there are plenty of opportunities in a game to give players more autonomy, less autonomy. I'm with you. I'm not in the camp of people that thinks initiative is one of these things. Like don't overburden your players with so many options as to like have some sort of like debate and discourse about like who is going to go like next round. Just prescribe to them, here's when you go. Um I want some of that allows flexibility,
Hmm.
but not having any sense of like who's going when. It's like that's
Yeah.
really fuzzy, and what ends up happening is that players get racked with indecision, or they over strategize, or they're trying to like they're either min-maxing to the it's like, oh well, like if I go now, like it's whatever. It's like, but if it's like no, just like you go now, you go when I tell you to go,
Right.
and then it just kind of keeps the pace of the game up. So I know I said I like things that allow the players to have some flexibility, and I really do. Um, but flexibility is not the removing of barriers entirely.
Right. I left Daggerheart's system for the very end because I really enjoy it, but I still have some problems with it. So Daggerheart's system, for all those that don't know, is it is almost a free form because it starts out that players, you go first. That's how it works. Unless they did build in a few things for the GM to kind of change things up. And I really like this part. The GM, so they go whenever a player rolls with fear, or they spend a fear point to give themselves the spotlight and activate a creature. I like that because as the players start racking up fear and they know this, the GM has this, usually they have it shown how many fear points they have. They can see it and they say, oh, we're getting into a combat encounter. That doesn't look good. It kind of gives you that little bit of fear right at the top. And just like, ooh, this doesn't look good. But if they're all playing really fast, some people don't like this. If the players are rolling really well, so they're rolling with more hope, they can go and go and go and just give each other the spotlight until they either roll fear, or if that GM doesn't want to spend a fear, they can just keep going. And some people don't like that. That's why I think GMs need to spend that fear. It'll come back. Don't worry. You can only have, I think, 21 at cap. It might be 12. I can't remember what it actually is, but you have a cap anyway. You got to spend it because you're going to get it no matter what. And that makes it makes it flow really well with their mechanics of like the tag team mechanic. I love the tag team mechanic. If all of you out there have not read Daggerheart yet, they have this awesome mechanic that a player can spend 3 hope, and then they get to roll with advantage, as well as another player gets to roll with advantage. And if at least one of them succeeds, they both get to roll damage for a tag team attack. It's very cool. And it doesn't count as, one turn. It counts as it's 2 separate turns. Sorry. It counts as 1 turn. I think it's very cool. It's a good way to spend hope when you're actually moving this many resources around. I think 3, great number for it. And it is a very cool thing that you can do. I think there needs to be more tag team mechanics in role-playing games because I think they're very cool.
Yeah, I agree that they're cool. They are cool. My biggest gripe with the Daggerheart system though is that it incentivizes hope mining, which
Mm-hmm.
is you you have a basically a 50% chance of rolling hope. So what that means is that you have every incentive to do as many rolls as possible. And if you have a GM that is not wrangling in, like, okay, yeah, you don't need to do a roll for that. Like, just tell me what your score in this thing is. Okay, yeah. But like, you could just do, oh, like I go over to the empty wagon and it's like, I look around. Is there anything in there? It looks more or less empty. I do a search check with a perception roll. It's like a really low stakes situation,
Mm.
and you like, but you have a 50% chance of rolling hope. Why not roll a perception check in a low stakes situation and put that little hope point in my
Yeah.
bank if I get it? It's like that's savvy DMs, GMs, whatever they call them in Daggerheart. If they're not guarding against that, I would suspect that players would gravitate toward doing that as a way to build up a big pool of hope to use it in a more bombastic way later
Yeah.
down the
I
road.
think they are also capped at 6. You can only get up to 6 before it caps out, which is still
Yeah,
a lot. 6 amongst everybody, that's still a lot.
sure, but but like I'm just saying, if you're using it frequently,
Yeah,
like
you're using it a lot.
a resource that you know is abundant to you,
Mm.
you're going to use more readily, right?
That's one of
Like,
the things that I don't like about Daggerheart right now is because you got to spend hope to do fucking pretty much anything that your character can do. A lot of it is just like you got to spend a hope to do this.
yeah, and so it's like if you know a resource is abundant to you, you're gonna be more. you're going to be more inclined to spend it.
Yeah.
And
Hope
it's like,
farming.
yeah, so it's like you go, okay, well, I'll just spend it now. But if a resource is precious, like a hit dice or something, just comes back at the end of a short rest, then you're more judicious about
Yeah.
how you spend it. And that balance is where a lot of role-playing games with meta currencies especially kind of go awry. And
Mhm.
so yeah.
And when it comes to their initiative system, the part that I'm not a big fan of, again, this goes to like that narrative system where you give it to just the players at first. You're like, all right, you guys start off, you figure out who's going to go first. And then if they are rolling well, they're rolling with hope a lot more, and the GM doesn't want to spend that fear right away. The introvert is going to be maybe cast aside. Some people are going to get maybe two turns before that one person does because they're not
Hmm.
willing to speak up if you're at a convention or if you are playing online with people that doesn't really know each other quite well, unless
Yeah.
you're all good friends at a table or online that know each other quite well. Like our group here, we would just tell each other, dude, fuck off, it's my turn now.
But
uh
and that's the irony is that if you have the kind of group that would likely advocate for themselves, like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, stop it. It's my turn, right?
yeah. Hmm.
But the likelihood that you have a GM that, like, even if let's just say we had some free form initiative system, and let's just say for whatever reason you guys were all incredibly passive, like, I'm the kind of GM that would be like, no, no, Matt, you already went, right?
Hmm.
Like, you went last time, so it's like give somebody else a chance to go. Like, Cody, Beto, neither of you have gone, one of you decide to go, right? I would do that, but
Yeah.
like
Oh
if
yeah.
you're in the kind of game that has the free flowing initiative, kind of open ended, that's part and parcel for a certain mindset that I would suspect would not play out that well.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's just uh like we were talking about last week with the whole GMs that tend to be like the overly rigid GMs kind of track with the sensibilities of like kind of being more like libertarian mindset. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, yeah, like because we're all in a game together, even if because you're the sort of players that would be inclined to not allow that, then it also means that you probably have a GM that wouldn't allow that even if you did allow that. And so for our game on that end of the spectrum, there's the other game on the other end of the spectrum that would be the complete inverse where, yeah, you could conceivably just have the sort of players that like would never say 5 rounds in a row they didn't get to do anything and they wouldn't say
Hmm.
anything, and the GM would never say like, wait a minute, I haven't heard from this character yet.
Yeah.
Like,
The only reason I bring that up is because Darrington Press and Critical Role, they made a big oopsie when they created this rules as written. So if it goes to a convention and that dude, that GM is that rules as written, it says in the book pretty much that they can, anybody can take the spotlight at any time as long as it is still the player's turn. So like I was saying, at a convention, or if you didn't know and you were that GM that was just like, I go by the book pretty much says that if they don't speak up, they don't get to go. And I don't like that. That's not cool. I think there should be something in the book that says make sure everybody goes. The GM
yep.
should speak up and make sure that everybody has a turn before somebody gets the spotlight again. But it doesn't. And I think I don't blame them. I don't think it was on purpose, but I think it was a big overlook.
Yeah, because it's part of this trend of trying to like empower players or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's like, look, again, maybe both of us are kind of old school, but like I assume some semblance of responsibility for my players at the
Hmm.
table. And so I do believe that it is part of the GM's role to kind of assume and responsibility for and manage the game. It's a lot like a dealer at a poker table, right? Like the dealer kind of decides and controls the table. They should be unin, uninvasive, but if someone at the table is string betting, if someone at the table is table talking, if someone at the table is doing whatever, it is incumbent upon the dealer to be like, I'm sorry, Matt, the action is not to you. Like, the
Hmm.
action is to Patrick. Patrick, what are you doing, right? Like, and you're chirping or whatever, and the dealer should subtextually say like, no, no, you're not in charge of this game. I am, right? I'm in
Yep.
charge of the game, and you are playing in the game, and here are kind of the rule because it shouldn't be to Patrick to have to like butt heads with you about table decorum or
Yeah.
something
Right.
like that. And the GM should manage that
Yep.
in a way that is almost imperceptible to the players. And if you're doing that, then you are allowing everybody a space and to have fun and not just saying like, well, like you should assert yourself as a player. Yes, I agree. People should assert themselves, but you shouldn't vanguard the fun of a game behind someone being able to assert themselves.
Yep.
Like your table should be welcoming to everybody, no matter how meek or passive they are. If you want them at your table, they're sitting there, then assume some responsibility and advocate for rules that are equitable across people of all different sensibilities.
Exactly. And I think we've actually had this discussion before that, like, when they wrote this, they probably had it in their minds. It's just like, people are going to, of course, they're going to do that. They're going to make sure everyone gets their own turn. But I think, and I think David points it out every single time. It's like, if it's not in the rules, people aren't going to fucking do it.
Yeah. You have some people that will, and even if you don't have those people, it's good to just kind of assume that you could potentially have those people. Like, I don't get the impression from any of my players that anybody is ever really trying to game the system or get one over on me. Not really.
Mm.
But I just kind of make the assumption that they could be doing that. And what would my response be? Because my response should not be different if I think they're getting one over on me versus they aren't getting one over on me. This is the problem that we've discussed last week with the rule of cool, right? Is like the rule of cool is not someone trying to get one over on you, but it can kind of evolve into a scenario where it becomes that inadvertently. So just kind of assume that like if someone had total malintent, if someone were a total bully at the table, totally trying to game the system, how would I approach this in a fair and equitable way? And that ruling is the ruling you should make for someone that clearly isn't trying to do any of those things because you're just erring on the side of caution.
I agree. All right. I think that's going to bring it to the end of this episode. For all of you out there, you learn something a little bit about the initiative system. Which one do you like the best? Let us know. How about you send it in right to fucking outro music first? Why don't you write it to insidethegmstudio@gmail.com and let us know what your favorite is, or do you have your own kind that you use? And like I said, if I haven't brought up one that you have read about in some other book, please let me know because I like to know all of them. I want to know all of them. Or, come on over, watch us live. Normally, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Inside the GM Studio and youtube.com/Inside the GM Studio. You can watch us live, talk in the chat, ask us questions. But for this week, for Inside the GM Studio, I've been your host, Matt.
And I'm David.
A good night.